Shalom Aleichem, everyone. I wanted to share with you a short idea when it comes to Parshat Korach. We know that Korach in his rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu, the authority of Moshe and Aaron, so he makes the following argument. This is pointed out by Rashi, it's pointed out by the Medrash, Perek Het Zayin Pasuk Aleph, and the Medrash is found in Midrash Rabbah, Siman Yud Ches, where he argues as follows. Let's say you have a garment that is kulo tcheles, it's full of tcheles, the whole thing is that color of tcheles. Does it require a string, tzitzis, of tcheles? And Moshe said, what difference does it make? Whether it's a beged of love and beged of tcheles, it does require Korach. And Korach mocks, that's ridiculous, doesn't make any sense. After all, the whole idea of the mitzvah tzitzis, he says, is to link the color of the tcheles to the yam, to the sky, to the kisei hakavod, to Hashem. So if the whole garment is tcheles, why do I need a single string of tcheles? It seems superfluous and 100% unnecessary. The Medrash cites a similar argument. He said, what's the din, says Korach, if I have a house that is full of Sifrei Torah, full of Sfarim, does it require a little cloth on the doorpost? And Moshe Rabbeinu says, of course it does. Why wouldn't it require it? And Korach says, that's ridiculous. After all, the whole idea of mezuzah is a shmira. You have a little cloth with shema, a few parshas. That's a shmira. The whole room is full of Sifrei Torah. Why would I require mezuzah? Ridiculous. He scoffs. It doesn't make any sense. Again, this fits Korach's argument. He writes, the Torah tells us that after all, ki kol ha'eda kulam kadoshim, everyone is kadosh, so why do you need those leaders? Why do you need a Moshe Rabbeinu? Why do you need Aaron? Why do you need the mezuzah? Why do you need the tcheles? Everyone is holy, so why does it have to have that single thing set out? So Rav Soloveitchik has a very, very profound and beautiful idea that I think was relevant when he said it some 40 years ago, and is very, very relevant today as well. He says Korach, as a leader, he's a demagogue, and certainly his interests were selfish interests. He was out for himself, but every demagogue, every leader that wants to go ahead and have a coup, always has some kind of slogan, some kind of ideology. What was the ideology of Korach? His ideology was what Rav Soloveitchik coins the term the common sense rebellion. It was an ideology of common sense, populism. That, listen, it doesn't make any sense. The halacha doesn't make sense. You have a room that is full of Sifrei Torah. Why should it require mezuzah? You have a beged that is kulo tcheles. Why should it require that single string? Rashi points out that Korach was a pikeach, was wise. He had this ideology. Now understand, Korach had that wisdom. He didn't go ahead and say and attack Betzalel. Why do you need an architect, a person with a tremendous sense of chachma for the binyan hamishkan? That he wouldn't attack. But when it comes to halacha, when it comes to Jewish authority in the world of legality, anyone can go ahead. Who says anyone can go ahead and paskin that shaila? So Rav Soloveitchik explains that, just to break it down a little bit further, he says when it comes to wisdom, so you have three terminologies that are used in Torah, in Scripture, in religious writing, reflecting different kinds of wisdom. You have chachma, you have bina, and you have das. Chachma means specialized knowledge. A person who wants to be a doctor has to have specialized knowledge of anatomy, of how things work, how things operate. That's the sphere of chachma. Bina is analysis. Mevin davar mito davar, to go ahead and think deeper, analyze, go ahead and extrapolate, derive one thing from another. You put together chachma and bina, you have a very, very creative and gifted thinker. Then you have das. What is das? Das is common sense, the kind of generalized knowledge, common sense that you need to go ahead and live in this world. All three are very critical components of a person being, if you will, a seichel dika person. Chachma, bina, and das. But when it comes to any area of specialized knowledge, any area that requires some sophistication, cannot work on just das. You can't go ahead, you're not going to go ahead and resolve a medical issue or a sophisticated legal issue just based on common sense. You need that level of chachma. And says Moshe Rabbeinu to Korach, it's not true. You're absolutely wrong. Not everyone can go ahead and paskin a shaila. Not everyone can go ahead and develop a halachic analysis. We don't believe in religious subjectivism. You have to go ahead and have that sense of sophistication, that chachma and das. And indeed, you're absolutely wrong. You might think, common sense, why do I need a mezuzah on that room of Sifrei Torah? Why do I need a string of tcheles on that beged of tcheles? You're wrong. Common sense does not order the day. Just like medicine, architecture, law requires sophistication and specialized knowledge, a vast understanding of all of Shas and Poskim, so too when it comes to halacha. You see, Korach was reflecting a certain ideology that, listen, everyone wants to feel a religious experience. And what is the relationship between the performance of mitzvah and that religious feeling that we want to have? So Korach says everything is driven, Rachmana Liva boy, Hashem wants the heart, everything is driven by that religious feeling. And therefore, it doesn't really make any sense to go ahead, common sense, and put a mezuzah on that room full of Sifrei Torah. It's not inherently logical. What value does that naked, bare action of mitzvah have when, listen, the whole room is Sifrei Torah? What's that accomplishing? What am I getting out of that? After all, the whole room is Sifrei Torah. So comes Moshe and says that's not how the halachic system works. You first start with the action, with the maisa, then that leads you to the emotion, that leads you to the spiritual feeling, not the reverse. The reverse, you have a feeling, and now you reflect it religiously in a maisa. That's not how things can operate. They can't operate that way. If we go ahead and allow emotions to dictate mitzvah, so then, first of all, Soloveitchik explains, you would never have an objective sense of mitzvah. Mitzvah would change all the time, change based on historic times, based on feelings. Every single person would have a different, if you will, scale of mitzvah depending on what he's feeling. I have many students, sometimes they say, listen, I don't feel it in davening, so therefore I shouldn't daven. What's the point of tefillin? I don't feel it when I put on tefillin, therefore not to put on tefillin. This is the argument of Korach. I'm not going to feel it if I go ahead and stick a little mezuzah on a room full of Sifrei Torah. It doesn't make any sense. Rav Soloveitchik explained it's not the halachic system. The halachic system operates very differently. Yes, the objective mitzvah has tremendous value, and we have to then go ahead. We're not denying the emotion. The emotion is very, very critical, but the objective mitzvah has exceptional value, and then that leads us to the emotional, the avodah shebalei. But if it's purely avodah shebalei, then the mitzvah goes ahead and falls apart. This is exactly the challenge that Korach made. And so often we see people that are observing, if we will, quasi-Judaism. It's not 100% genuine because it's only fueled by subjective feeling. And then when feeling is gone, so the mitzvah observance, the meticulous Kiyum HaMitzvah, Dikduke Mitzvah disappears as well. Meaningful Judaism has to have both. But it starts with the objective action of mitzvah, and then that leads to the emotional connection, not the reverse. If it's purely the reverse, is that if I'm feeling it, then I'll daven. If I'm not feeling it, then I won't. If I'm feeling it, then I'll put on my tefillin, otherwise I won't. So we're missing something very, very fundamental. To go ahead and understand that Avodas Hashem requires this objectivism, and then leading to that emotion, not the reverse. This was the common sense rebellion of Korach, something to be very, very wary of. Always focus on the objective, and then Be'ezus Hashem, that leads us and brings us, as we work on ourselves, to a sense of dveikus. I want to wish everyone a tremendous, tremendous Shabbos.